Where are all the white supremacists? That's all we hear about these days, is white supremacists are everywhere. America is filled with Nazis and racists and all these awful bigots, and we need to change it. That's all I ever hear. From someone who might not live in America, they might actually think that Nazis and racists and white supremacists are everywhere. But to a lot of us, we realize that the term white supremacists and white nationalists and bigots and racists and homophobes, those kind of buzzwords are thrown around very regularly. It's actually gotten to a pretty scary point where those words have kind of lost their weight. So today on Article Analysis Episode 6, we are going to find out where all the white supremacists really went, if they were ever there to begin with. Now, I noticed Jordan Peterson actually acknowledged this article on Twitter. That's why I'm talking about it today. I don't know, it's published by Spike. I don't know if they're Republican or whatever. I don't know anything about them. All I know is they published this article. This article was written by Fraser Myers and was published on August 15th, 2018. Where are all the white supremacists? The pathetic Unite the Right rally shows white supremacy is dead. Hell yeah. Genuine white supremacists are the scum of the earth. Everyone hates them. I don't really have to say that, of course. So it's good to hear that they're actually a dead kind of political ideology. It is now a familiar refrain. We are sliding back into the 1930s. Fascism is back in fashion. White supremacy reigns. Last weekend, this fantasy collided with reality. The white supremacist Jason Kessler organized a rally to mark the first anniversary of the infamous Unite the Right march in Charlottesville, Virginia. So these dudes, they were trying to have an anniversary for Charlottesville? What the hell? That's fucking dumb. Like, why would you celebrate that movement, even if you are a white supremacist? Wasn't that kind of dumb? Didn't somebody get hurt there? You don't really want to be seen supporting that kind of event. Why would you? I can't. Even if you were a white supremacist, why would you celebrate that? Whatever. It's a weird thing to celebrate. Let's move on. Thousands of counter-protesters in the world's media descended on Washington, D.C. in anticipation of a Nuremberg rally for the 21st century. But in the end, only around 20 white nationalists turned up, and the event ended early when it started to rain. So these people aren't even in the triple digits, and they're not even passionate enough to stay in the rain. Let that sink in for a moment. White supremacy really is dead. It kind of makes you start to think, who are these people saying that white supremacy is prominent in our culture? Who are they really? What are they really arguing against? Who are they really attacking? An idea? An archetype that represents a group of people with ideologies? Are they just pretending white supremacy is something it isn't in order to claim victimhood? I'm kind of leaning towards that. I think they're looking for excuses, reasons to make society out to be a bad guy. And right now, society, with all of its more recent legislations, at least here in the US, everybody, even the minorities, are very free. Everyone's equal here. Maybe there's no equality of outcome, but that's a good thing. You don't want equality of outcome because that stifles equality of opportunity. But anyway, I've kind of gone off track. I don't know why I started talking about equality. Okay, whatever. But anyway, let's get back to the article. So where were all the white supremacists we had been promised? The lack of recognizable names might have played a role. Kessler initially announced that both the former KKK Imperial Wizard David Duke and self-described white identitarian Richard Spencer, is he really? Well, damn, I didn't know that, who claims to have invented the term alt-right, were confirmed to speak. Both attended the first Unite the Right, but this year decided to pull out, distancing themselves from Kessler. So I guess the important people in the Unite the Right kind of movement didn't show up, and that caused nobody else to show up. It really highlights their passion for their movement. It's just not there at all. These splits were evident in Kessler's short speech to the rally, in which he admonished the alt-right for their cowardice in not showing up. I'm here while you're in your mother's basement. He also criticized the alt-right's tendency to play up as their role as cartoon Nazis being deliberately stupid and hateful, which he sees as a roadblock to his work of white advocacy. But the lack of alt-right luminaries alone cannot account for the pathetic turnout. As shown by the permit Kessler filed with the police, he expected a maximum of just 400 demonstrators. Wow. So that's still just nothing. 400 people is jack. And they expected that, and they got much less. They got 20. So 400 divided by 20 is 20. So literally 1/20th of the people expected to come actually came. So that's just mind-blowing to me. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm happy. This should be celebrated. It really is pathetic. I thought the alt-right, the white nationalists, the white supremacists, I thought they were supposed to be a force to be reckoned with. I thought they had a hold on America, as all of these mainstream media outlets wanted me to believe. But I guess I was right to not trust them. It appears they're just looking for someone to demonize to promote an agenda, which of course is what we all suspected. I mean, it's not every day you go outside and see a white supremacist or somebody who identifies with that political movement. So just with people who are actively social, even online, just the personal experience of having rarely ever met a white supremacist is enough to know that they barely even exist. And the ones that do exist probably do it to be edgy, which fuck them for it still, but you know what? They're not passionate about it, obviously, if only 1/20th of people decided to go, and then those 20 people left because of rain. I still can't get over that, man. How are we supposed to believe that white supremacists are a force to be reckoned with if they can't even stay in the rain in their own movement? Man, politics is stupid, man. I can't believe it. We're pretending that things that don't exist are problems in order to promote some sort of agenda. Which, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but you know what? It's still something that's happening. It's something that's hard to believe. It's gotten to the point to where whenever the far right acts, it's obviously pitiful, but what's even more pitiful is it highlights how the far left will take something that doesn't exist and use it to push an agenda. So who's more pitiful? I don't know. I really don't know, man. It's definitely debatable. In comparison, some marches over the past 2 years, from the Women's March and March of Our Lives, have drawn crowds in the hundreds of thousands. Nevertheless, the media circus came to town. Kessler was even profiled on Vice News and interviewed on NPR in advance of the rally. Yeah, I don't like Vice News. They have some stupid people writing some stupid things on that site. I really don't like them. And they used to be cool, though, you know? They used to do all those, like, drug documentaries and stuff, and we used to be like, oh, wow, that's kind of neato. This is interesting content. And then this kind of stuff came out, where they clearly showed their bias and developed an agenda. Modern journalism. The real reason for the lower than expected turnout is that the size and threat of the so-called alt-right has been vastly exaggerated. Well put, my friend. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I still have to give you credit for wording it like that, because that's very true. The number of white supremacists in the US is infinitesimally small, but their influence has been exaggerated, largely as a consequence of Donald Trump's election, both by Trump himself and his critics. Yeah, I think people have been paying way too much attention to white nationalists, white supremacists, and I guess Trump too. I mean, he did acknowledge Charlottesville contributing to this mess. I mean, he has addressed white supremacists before. I guess he was only talking to a couple hundred people. Many figures in the alt-right viewed Trump's election as a victory for their cause and have heaped praise on the president. In his infinite narcissism, Trump has largely been unwilling to challenge anyone who praises him. I will say, Trump has a pretty large ego. I mean, you can't really complain about it because it's kind of what fueled him to be president, and I kind of like what Trump's doing in office right now, so I'm not really going to complain about his ego, but I will acknowledge that he has a very, very strong ego. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is debatable, but I don't know, I'm kind of reluctant to call it problematic. Hence his infamous declaration following the Charlottesville car attack that there were many bad people among the alt-right demonstrators, but also very fine people on both sides. This helped create the impression that white nationalism was on the up, and perhaps even had the sympathy of the president. Whoa, I wouldn't say that the president was sympathizing towards white nationalists, he was just acknowledging that there could be good people, as well as applying that same standard to Antifa that was there as well. No matter how you look at the situation, it's two extremes clashing. There's bound to be some good people and bad people on both sides. To me, he just appeared to take an unbiased stance, which I think he was right to do in that regard. I mean, Antifa and white supremacists are both pretty bad. But yeah, I could see how this helped create the impression that white nationalism was on the up. I can definitely see how that's the case. But whenever the media is telling you all these things, that white supremacy is on the rise and all these things, of course you're gonna have to, acknowledge white supremacy, if it's the only thing that's ever talked about. Furthermore, many of Trump's critics see no distinction between support for the president and support for white supremacy. Well, those people are idiots, okay? Those people are fucking dipshits. Don't take them seriously. Because I could be a normal person with a healthy political view and also side with Trump. I don't have to be an alt-righter, I don't have to be a white supremacist, and it doesn't make me one, because I don't hold those views. In fact, I strongly disagree with them. So these people that are suggesting these things are completely misguided, or willfully ignorant. They see the alt-rights as the all-powerful facilitators of Trump's victory rather than hitchhikers on the Trump bandwagon. Yeah, that's just delusional thinking. I've seen this kind of talking point all over the place. Although their views are abhorrent, it is clear that the ragtag bunch of racists who attended last weekend's rally do not pose a serious threat to society. Oh yeah, this is not news. We've known this for many years. The media kind of wanted to put a veil over that fact, so it's not as obvious to a lot of people. Kessler, for instance, was a former Obama voter and Occupy Wall Street protester who became increasingly bitter when a job he applied for in mental health services went to a woman. He blamed her protected characteristics. He used to take to Facebook to post rants about women overlooking nice guys like himself. What the hell? So he's a nice guy? He's a freaking r/nice guy. Wow. He even dabbled in creative writing a novel, Badland Blues, about a dwarf who falls in unrequited love with a waitress. His embarrassing attempt to organize a white supremacist rally last weekend is merely the latest incident in a long series of personal and professional failures. Yeah, this guy sounds like a fucking loser. On top of him being a nice guy, he's a white supremacist. I don't know what his book has to do with anything, but I mean, hey, dude's a fucking loser. Okay, let's move on. Even the significance of the first Unite the Right march in Charlottesville has been overstated. The horrific car attack understandably frightened many, but it could not justify the huge number of op-eds describing it as a watershed moment in American history. Even then, the counter-protesters outnumbered the white nationalists. White supremacy was long dead before the bizarre and shambolic Unite the Right. Let this latest rally be its final epitaph. This was a damn good article. Good job. Good job, Fraser Myers. Very informative. I feel like the average person can learn a lot from this article, but at the same time, I know the media is going to continue on with this notion that white supremacists are everywhere and you have to find them, and, you know, trying to turn people into paranoid schizophrenics. And it's so sad that it's worked on people, man. It's scary that it's worked on people. So white supremacy exists. It doesn't exist in any meaningful way. And we all knew this. This is not news. I mean, we've been aware of white supremacy ever since the KKK was a big deal. And we've hated them ever since then. And that trend has only continued and continued and continued until we've gotten to this point where they almost don't even exist anymore. I'm kind of proud in society, man. It's not every day I get to be like, hey, society, you're being cool, but nah, I'm happy for it, you know? I feel like we need to recognize the good parts of society and not brood on the bad parts, just like you wouldn't do that to yourself. And this is one of those things where it's just nice to sit down and just, you know, be proud of. The white supremacists are gone. The only people we need to worry about now are the far leftists. Because somewhere along the road, we left them out of check, and they're everywhere. They're the real group that has any substantial power. And in order to keep that power, they need to have this idea that everyone's a white supremacist, that everyone's a Nazi, and that's why you have BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's here to tell you that you're a racist, that everyone's a racist even. And then they're going to try to change the definition of racism to mean that you can only be a racist towards minorities. They're going to create fake words like reverse racism, which doesn't exist, it's just racism. Or they will use words like homophobia to a point to where the word has a complete definition change, and homophobia is no longer homophobia, or sexism. It's things like BuzzFeed that we need to look out for now, because they actually have a foothold in universities and in the media. Anyway, this has been PsychicSploob. Sorry I didn't get a video out yesterday. I know article analysis is meant to be a daily thing, but I'm a college student, so I guess it's a daily thing for as long as my situation allows it. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. Maybe follow me on Twitter, I'll have a link in the description. Add me on Steam, I'll have a link there too. If you ever want to play any games that I have and I'm not doing something, I might join you. But yeah, again, thank you for watching the video, and peace out.